Ladies and gentlemen, welcome today to another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control and, of course, a Busch Series doubleheader on this Sunday afternoon as we are getting ready for some action at the Kansas Speedway for race number 1, and then race number 2 will take place at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, also known as, of course, Charlotte Motor Speedway. As of now, of course, Lowe's had the title sponsor for the racetrack at that point in time. Our first race today will be 200 laps, and it will be 300 miles for the running of the United Way 300. Actually, both races today will each be 200 laps and 300 miles, and both on mile-and-a-half racetrack. So without further ado, let's hop into this race. Just qualified in 5th place. Car was a little bit loose in qualifying, had to tighten it up. Hopefully I didn't tighten it up too much before the start of the race because you can't practice after qualifying. So I'm just going to have to go off of this. Our teammate, Brian Vickers, will be on the pole for today's race. We're about to get some good racing in here on this Sunday evening. Green flag is in the air. Vickers leads the field to the green, and we're underway. And Aaron Crocker almost made it 3 wide down to the bottom into turn 1, and that 106 car shot through the middle between Clint Boyer and Kyle Busch to get to the inside, and that caught Busch off guard, and he ended up trying to evade out of harm's way there. And what a terrible start for Kyle Busch as he's already back to 15th off the exit of turn 4. Trying to find his way back into the bottom, and he's going to get there. 10 spots lost on the first lap. Brian Vickers leads lap 1. Busch a little too tight in the middle of the corner right now as he washes up the track again. 3 wide right behind him. Big block by the 138. He just body slammed Kyle Busch in the middle of the back straightaway, and Busch hangs on to his car and hangs on to 14th. His trigger bounces off the wall off turn 4 as well. Crocker leads lap 2 after Vickers led the opening lap. Wild start. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in. Busch just completely overdrove that corner. Oh boy, a double DNF. Might end up clinching the championship like 10 races early at this point. Not actually, but Kyle Busch struggling right now with this car. It's way too tight in the middle of the corner. It rolls in fine, but right in the center it really shoves. Then by the time he gets to the exit, it's fine as well. Lucky not to have a crash in those opening couple laps. That was pretty wild. Wade Selinsky also welcome into the stream. Busch keeps clipping the apron. He's trying to do what he can to try to keep the car down on the inside of the racetrack, so he's been overdriving the corners here a couple times in the early going as a result. And now he's so tight that he's almost in the wall off turn 4. Luckily, there's a crash, it looks like, at the back of the pack off of turn 4. Caution's going to be out for the first time today. The 184 has gone for a spin. I think he was in last place and ended up just losing control off the exit of turn 4 into the wall. And did not take long for the first caution today, which flies at lap 5. Down into the grass on the front stretch goes the 184 as well. Kyle Busch going to pit even though we're only 5 laps in. He needs to change the handling to this car. It is way too tight. Completely missed the adjustments coming into the race. It's going to be 4 tires and fuel for Kyle Busch while he's down here anyway. That'll give him only 3 sets left the rest of the race. Going to take a round of wedge out of the race car right now. Caleb Brinkley, also welcome into the stream. Yeah, Miami's looking like a good team for sure. I'm just glad the Packers can... No matter how bad we are, we could still beat the Bears. Packers have 5 wins this year, and 2 of them are against Chicago. So Aaron Crocker in the lead at the time of the yellow. Again, Vickers led the first lap, fell back to it looked like 3rd for this restart. Green flag back in the air on lap 9. So Busch putting himself back in traffic, giving up all that track position after qualifying 5th. His car was a little too loose in qualifying. It was loose, but fast in qualifying. And that's why he was able to start 5th, but then when he tightened it up, just went too aggressive with the setup, and it was just way too tight. He was kind of holding on for dear life there, trying to keep it off cars if they were ever on his outside, and then he was having problems trying to keep it off the wall. He never hit the wall, luckily, but very thankful for that caution come out on lap 5, because we probably would have kept dropping back anyway and would have had to hold on for everything we could. A round of wedge out of the race car now for Kyle Busch. And we'll see what he can do on the attack now. The wedge was right at 0.0 in qualifying, so it's still a half a round of wedge in from what he had in his 2 laps in qualifying, but now he's going to have to make his way from the rear of the field. The good news is he's got almost the entire race to do it, so I think it was a smart call. You hate to be back in traffic, just in case there's a caution. Kyle Busch coming off a dominating win at the Old Spice Speedway last night, his first road course win of the season. A 3.3 average finish through 17 out of 33 races this year. Work cut out for him in the early going for this first race of the doubleheader today, and then when we get to the Lowe's Motor Speedway in race 2, that's one of my worst tracks on this game. Definitely my worst mile and a half racetrack on the game. Big block by the 152. It's the second time Busch has been blocked big time by a car on his outside. That 152 was definitely not clear. Busch down on that bottom lane. Trying to squeeze underneath the 152. And he was able to do so. Really low exit to turn 2 as he pulls out of line 3 wide, going into 3 on the 116 and the 64 of Jamie McMurray. Tight squeeze down on the bottom, but Busch is going to make his way by the 116, and now he's alongside McMurray on the front stretch. I gotta say, I really do not like this car today. Something just feels off about it. Kind of felt like that in qualifying. Wow, I mean, loosened the car up there and it just did not want to turn again. First time he's gotten up into the outside wall, and that was in the center of the corner when he got in the wall. So it took him a while to get off of it. Zachary K, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, Michigan winning the Big Ten title last night. I'm happy about that. Close game in the first half. They just came out, blew the barn doors off in the second half. Kind of want Ohio State and Michigan to play each other again in the national championship. As if the game a couple weeks ago wasn't one of the biggest games between them ever. Only to eventually have the biggest one just another month and a half or so after the fact. Kyle Busch's car not handling well in traffic, and I wonder if he can get the clean air, if the car's going to handle any better. You'd have to imagine it probably will. But Busch is definitely struggling early. Does not have a good feel for the car. Still tight in the center of the corner, too, even with the adjustment change during that first stop. It's not as bad as it was, but it's not perfect by any means either. Try to stay hooked to that white line as much as possible, really. Luke Lotus, thanks for tuning in. Busch down underneath the 116. Look at him just shove right in the middle of the corner and unfortunately shoved the 131 car into the wall. Then the car handled perfectly through 3 and 4 just like he wanted it to. Goes down to the apron into the tri-oval, just trying to squeeze underneath the 84. She'll be able to do so. And clear, so he's up to 30th. He was the only car that hit pit road during the first caution on lap 5. So he can go maybe a little bit longer on fuel if he so chooses. He's only got 3 sets of tires left the rest of this race, so really going to have to manage those tires out pretty well to the end. A dive underneath the 119 for Busch. Going to get around him and get underneath the 157. For some reason, when the car's getting tight, it feels like it's only down in turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, the car seems pretty good for the most part. So Busch really just struggling on the one end of the track. We'll try to have our inner Kyle Busch come out on top today, where we just will a bad race car to the front of the field. Big block by the 103 on the back straightaway. At least that was a clean one on Kyle. Car stuck on the outside lane, losing a bunch of positions. Busch has a run going into the corner, backed up at the last second. Trying to make a pass for position. And now the next car on his outside trying to side draft him. Squeezes him quite a bit in turns 3 and 4. Busch holds on and clears him with a clean pass. The Taurus, welcome into the stream. Yikes. Yeah, I could end up putting more air pressure back into it. That's probably what I'll end up doing. Clint Boyer to the lead for the first time today. There's a 3-wide move by Busch. Might end up panning out for him, too. And it does. He's all clear well before getting into turn 1. Little clean air on the nose, and he's able to get the car to turn at least that time. Single file line right in front of Busch. A lot of cars outside the top 10 for the most part are single file, but closely bunched together still. Boyer really trying to pull away at the front of the field. Busch to the inside of Shane Neal off turn 4. Neal coming off an engine failure, which has dropped him outside of the top 5 in points. Busch just ran his fastest lap of the day. Moves himself up to 18th. Brian Vickers has fallen back quite a bit, so I think it's just a Hendrick Motorsports problem right now, because Vickers, they're qualifying on the pole and leading the first lap of the race. He has really fallen. He's outside the top 10. Busch qualified 5th. He's outside the top 15. I know Busch pitted, but I guarantee we wouldn't be inside the top 15 with the setup we originally had either. A lot of blocking going on mid-pack, though, quite a bit. Busch backed up in the middle of the corner. Felt his car starting to get tight right as he was about to get a run on the 109. Wise decision to back out of it when he did. And now he'll make the pass at turns 3 and 4 instead. Actually worked out a little bit better for Kyle. Kyle Busch down low. Bobby Labonte's falling back. He restarted in 2nd. Right in front of Brian Vickers. Busch holds his line really well through 1 and 2. Never touched that white line, but was very close to it in the center of the corner. The ultimate idea to do that lap after lap. Not easy with the car Kyle Busch has today, though. Bobby Labonte trying to make a pass on Trigger in the 133. Kyle Busch to the inside of Trigger. R6, welcome into the stream. Busch slid almost a little too far wide. Now he's clear on the back straightaway. Into turns 3 and 4. He pins his car down to the bottom, 3 wide. Hendrick sandwiched. Bobby Labonte was right in the middle. Vickers gets cleared by both the 5 and the 19, and Busch is up to 12th as he clears Labonte. Busch going low into 3 and 4. Gets to the inside of the 135 now. Slides up, trying to take the line away of the 135 and clear off turn 4 for 11th. Kyle Busch is working his way through the field despite not really liking the handling of his race car. Fights quickly to the inside of the 18 of G.G. Yaley into 1 and 2. And actually held the bottom line through 1 and 2 probably better than he has all day to this point. And clears the 18 for 10th. So Busch has rallied his way back inside the top 10 after making kind of an unscheduled stop under pit stops at least. Hitting at lap 5. Knowing everybody else was going to stay out, he was going to lose that track position, but he's trying to fight his way back into it. With the adjustment changes to his car, didn't want to have to go a full run before making the change. And it's actually worked out for him up to this point. See, that's one thing you can afford to do when you have a giant points lead. If we were behind in points, we probably wouldn't have been able to do that. Would have probably tried to just tough it out. even in the early going to the race. Kyle Busch could maybe go off strategy a little more than everybody else and have a little bit of a safer outcome as a result. 138 really pinching Busch down on the racetrack. Kyle trying to make the pass on him. Still side by side. The 138 got tight in the middle of the corner while Busch got loose on the bottom. Busch still gets a better drive off. Should clear him into 3 and 4. Surprised they didn't make contact there because Busch was getting squeezed heavily but didn't crack at all under pressure. But now he's going to slide up a little too far wide. And the 138 trying to cross him over. There's contact. Kyle Busch holds on to 9th. Halfway through the fuel run right now. Kyle Busch does have pressure behind him. There's one car lurking into 3 and 4, trying to get underneath the 2, and he's going to get there. Side by side for the lead. Nearly. Nope. Boyer with a block in the middle of the corner. You can see the second place car move up the track as soon as that block was pulled off. Kyle Busch trying to get by Aaron Crocker in the 6. Crocker throwing a block on the front stretch, entering into 1 and 2. Brandon Miller gets a bit wide in the center of 1 and 2, loses ground to John Hamilton. Kyle trying to get to the inside of Crocker, barely does. Busch looking for a little bit more space. Entering into turn 1 with the 6 hanging on that right rear corner panel of Kyle Busch. Busch getting tight. Up the track he goes now. Keeps it off the 6 car. Still side by side for 8th place. And again, Crocker goes down to try to side draft, but Busch is going to be clear into 3. Slowly working his way to 8th. Miller making a pass on the 120 of John Hamilton and turns 3 and 4 for 6th. Hamilton looking for the crossover on the front stretch. May have a chance to get back underneath him into turn 1. Miller with a half block going into the corner and now has to stay on the outside as Hamilton is right there with him. Side by side are both cars on the backstretch. Miller got a little loose off the exit of the corner. Kyle Busch going all the way to the bottom, 3 wide into turn 3 for 5th. Hugging the white line on the inside of the racetrack. Cleared Miller, but he's still alongside John Hamilton in the 120. And it looks like it's going to work. 3 wide pass and 3 and 4. Busch is up to 5th. Miller back to 6th place. Kyle not trying to give up a lot of bottom. Car's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter as the run goes on. He was barely clear of the 21 in the center of the tri-oval as he moved down to the bottom to protect the inside. And my bad, Kyle Busch is in 6th place, not in 5th. There's one car off of the racetrack and on pit road out of the race, it looks like, with an engine failure. Unaware of exactly who that may be. And I believe Kenny Wallace is the car and the driver trying to battle Clint Boyer for the lead at the front of the field. John Hamilton, Brandon Miller continue to battle. Going to allow Kyle Busch to pull away slightly. The racetrack itself, yes, Kansas is easier than Charlotte, but... Oh, trouble! Hard into the wall goes Kenny Wallace upside down with Ryan Newman. Casey Kane. Caution is out. A huge crash with the leaders right off of turn 4. Kenny Wallace goes for a wild ride, and Casey Kane just clobbered him. Tony Raines involved. Busch, for the most part, snuck by unscathed. We will likely see pit stops under the caution flag. Our second yellow in the early going of the race. It'll be 4 tires and fuel for Clint Boyer. I missed the wreck. I got clipped by it, but that was after the AI had control of my car, so I'm not going to count that against me. So I didn't have control of the car. Gonna make a slight air pressure adjustment here. 2 pounds all the way around for Kyle Busch. A wild crash off of turn 4 for Kenny Wallace, who was challenging Clint Boyer for the lead. Then gets absolutely demolished by Casey Kane and the Mr. Clean crew, making a mistake. Looked like the rear tire changer fumbling, trying to get the left rear tire on the car. Clint Boyer will be the leader on the restart, so nobody stayed out like our crew chief just said. Kyle Busch lost a bunch of spots on pit road, though, with the Mr. Clean crew making a mistake. 4 spots lost for Busch there. He'll restart in 10th. Green flag back in the air. That was a terrible crash. Kenny Wallace has flipped at Kansas. We've seen some terrible Kansas crashes in the past. We have seen one today. Surprised he's still in this race, to be completely honest. And we'll see if this air pressure adjustment will work for Kyle Busch. This is already the second set of tires on the 5 car today. He only has 2 sets left the rest of the race now. We're still only at lap 50. Following our second caution. Busch to the inside of Yaley, gets around him. To the inside of Brandon Miller, side traps him in the middle of the corner. New leader off turn 4. Oh, trouble! Kyle Busch just ran over the debris. Caution is out. Casey Kane, his hood fell off, then Kyle Busch ran over the debris. Slipped up the track a little bit. Casey was in 4th. He came into the pits, didn't repair the damage. I think Kyle Busch is all right, but if he does not... I mean, he only has 2 sets of tires left. He can't pit now. And hopefully there's not too much damage on the 5 car after hitting the debris that Casey Kane left down. Green flag back in the air. That might knock the car tight, I don't know. Luckily it didn't blow the tire out on the right front, but it definitely has caused some damage to be on the 5 car of Kyle Busch. Miller gets to his outside through 1 and 2, but can't clear him off the exit of the corner. Busch leans on him a little bit. Down into turn 3 they go. 3 cautions already in today's race. I'm so thankful I didn't blow a tire. But I do think there is some damage to this 5 car from running over Casey Kane's hood. Because I can feel it pushing to the right in the tri-oval now, and it wasn't doing that before. Car's actually pretty light in the tri-oval. It was tight in the corners, but now it's kind of shoving up the track on the front stretch, which is not good. That was just unlucky. Would have been unluckier if we blew the tire. And there is Casey Kane to the outside of Kyle Busch. He's already dropped back a few positions on the restart, looking to drop back another. Vickers has rallied as well after falling outside the top 10. After leading the first lap of the race from the pole, he looks to the inside of Kenny Wallace, who flipped and is still in this race. Busch to the inside of his teammate Vickers off of turn 4 now. As they battle for 6th, which is where Busch was before the second caution came out. Down into turns 1 and 2. Busch trying to hook the white line. Middle of the corner, slides up into Kenny. Kenny Walls holds on to his car. Kyle Busch on the inside into 3 and 4 for fourth rather. Bowyer continues to lead through these restarts. New rule changes for golf in 2023? No, I haven't heard anything. It's like Casey Kane taking it 3 wide underneath Tony Raines. Brian Vickers. Aaron Crocker trying to go back after the lead. I think Crocker's got the strongest short run car because she was leading earlier. She was the one who initially took the lead away from Vickers. Club limit to 18. Wow, isn't it only at like 13 or 14 right now? Yeah, I didn't hear about that. Busch just ran his fastest lap of the day. Pulling out of line in 1 and 2 to make a pass on Shane Meal. This is as high as Busch has been in the running order so far today. Even with qualifying in 5th, but he is up to 3rd now. Crocker's still trying to go for the lead on Bowyer. And it is definitely allowing Kyle Busch in the 5 to close that gap. Yeah, that's a huge rule change. That's 4 extra clubs. Busch clips the apron. Got loose. Hangs on to the car at least. Meanwhile, Aaron Crocker has just passed Clint Bowyer for the lead through 3 and 4. Busch holds on to 3rd, but now is about a half a second behind Crocker. Crocker goes wide, though, in turns 1 and 2 as Kyle Busch tries to close again. Crocker blocking the 2. How low they're both running on the back straightaway. Bowyer back to the inside. Back and forth go Aaron Crocker and Clint Bowyer as they battle for the lead at Kansas. Still door to door off the exit of the corner. With them battling, it's allowing Kyle Busch to try to reel him in. Crocker gets the car to cut, and she's looking for the lead again. Going into turn 3, she's got to run. This is incredible. What a battle right now. The car blowing up down on the bottom of the racetrack. Couldn't tell who it was. Crocker leads that lap at the line. Busch to the inside of Bowyer. And Kyle Busch is up to 2nd place as he slides clear of Bowyer in the middle of the corner. Bowyer in the wall off turn 2. He'll lose some ground. That lap car was able to make it into the pits, by the way. Busch way up the racetrack, just completely blew 1 and 2. Alternate through the different camera angles for a little bit now. Again, this is as high as Clint Bowyer's been in the running order. Sitting behind Aaron Crocker, who's had a lot of fast race cars in recent races. Got a lap car down on the bottom of the track. Another one has blown an engine, and it's the 117, so we're having a lot of cars all of a sudden. having some mechanical failures. A couple of them have broke loose off turn 4 with crashes, including Kenny Wallace, who has flipped already. Took Busch a little bit to get up to this area of the racetrack. Handling of the race car still not exactly where he wants it to be. He's going to be patient, though. He's not going to really risk things in the early going. It's been a wild race already. He's glad to have found his way up into the position he's running in right now and just looking to kind of sit back. He doesn't want to wear his tires out too much. Remember, he's only got 2 sets left at the end of the race already. The 3 cautions we've had today in the early going, that's kind of hurt him in this tire strategy. Should be able to make it on 2 stops to the end of the race. He's going to have to hope so, or he's going to end up having to make a fuel-only stop at some point. Crocker and Busch are slowly pulling away from the rest of the field, though, right now. Busch gets a little tight going into turns 1 and 2. So did the 6. Really, Carjoy, welcome into the stream. Kyle Busch just flat out trying to hit his marks. Trying to get to the inside of Aaron Crocker for the race lead. Not going to be able to do it that time. Kyle Busch definitely applying a lot of pressure on Aaron Crocker. If she makes a big mistake, Kyle Busch could take the lead off of it, but not looking to really try to pull out, make a pass. Crocker's made some aggressive moves already. And just trying to block Kyle Busch. And again, Busch doesn't really need bonus points as much, even though he hasn't led yet today. You would think that bonus points would be nice, don't get me wrong, they are, but over a 400-point lead in the standings, pretty nice also, and he doesn't want to jeopardize that in any way. As we're now in the second half of the Busch Series season. Busch really trying to pin his car down to the bottom of the racetrack as he gets to the inside of Aaron Crocker, side by side for the race lead. Crocker going down to try to side draft the 5, going into turns 3 and 4. Here we go. Busch trying to hold it. And does clear off turn 4. Crocker got a piece of the wall as well, and Kyle Busch is out in front for the first time today at Kansas. How about that? Crocker was trying to fight for it. Couldn't really fight as much as she probably wanted to. I'm trying to run Kyle Busch back down. Feels like Busch's car is slowly freeing up over the course of the run. It was not doing that before, and I think that's because of the air pressure adjustment, starting at a higher air pressure. So he's got a higher air pressure middle of the run as it continues to gain versus in the middle of the run the last time. But he is leading the way right now at the Kansas Speedway. Crocker gets a good run at Kyle Busch to try to make another pass for the race lead. I don't think Busch is going to battle too hard for it. Crocker moved up wide enough that he was able to make a run in the first place. Busch clips the apron a little bit in the middle of the corner, but holds on, didn't get extremely loose like he did earlier. Holds on to the race lead. Halfway through the fuel run right now, just hitting lap 80 in this race at the start-finish line. Everybody on the same pit strategy. As everybody pitted during the second caution of the race. Near trouble off of turn 4. Somewhere around the racetrack. It's where 2 of the 3 cautions have taken place today. Busch on the top, Crocker to the bottom off of turn 4, side by side for the lead. Busch will lead this lap at the line, but Crocker going for it. Squeezes Kyle Busch into turn 1, and Crocker's back out in front again at Kansas. Battling back on Kyle Busch. Busch with a slight mistake there. Over driving turns 3 and 4. Done that a few times already today. Did it again. So Crocker was able to get underneath the lap before and make the pass off turn 4. Blood, thanks for tuning in. Crocker leaving about a half a lane open, but it's not enough for Kyle Busch to get a really big enough of a run to try to make the pass for the race lead again. All over the back bumper of Crocker down into turns 1 and 2. Crocker left a lot more bottom open that time. Busch couldn't get his car quite pinned to the inside as well as he would have liked. Busch overdriving the corner. Just a little. Swap to Brian Vickers in the 57 car, our first field pass of the first race of the doubleheader today. He's in a 3-car battle for 5th with Shane Meal and Brandon Miller. Big run in the tri-oval for Vickers as he backs up the entry to turn 1. Miller slides up the racetrack just a little bit, slides up a little more, and here comes Brian Vickers to the inside 3 wide. Going forward in turns 3 and 4, Vickers back inside the top 5 as he clears both cars. We're just going to take both field passes back to back here, so we'll swap back to Kyle Busch in the 5 at the start-finish line this time. Just a couple laps in the Busch and Truck Series we do this. Halfway out of fuel now for Vickers at this point in the run, so Kyle Busch burning a lot more fuel than the rest of the drivers on the racetrack. Still keeping a decent pace though with the 6. Vickers still has Miller right behind him. They are pulling away from Shane Meal quite a bit. I think Casey Kane is the next car further back. Vickers going a bit wide in the center of the corner, but Vickers not quite going to give up the spot to Miller. Vickers going to gap the 21 now off turn 4. We're almost halfway done with the first race of our doubleheader today at the Kansas Speedway. Nice little race going on. And our second race will be at Charlotte. It's going to be 600 miles worth of Busch Series racing on the channel and on this stream today. Go back to Kyle Busch for the rest of the race at the start-finish line. Vickers pulling away as well. Busch still keeping pressure on Aaron Crocker. I'd say Crocker's probably led the most laps in the early going of this race. Though it's probably pretty close with Boyer, closer to what I was maybe originally thinking. Starting to feel a little bit more confident with Kyle Busch that his tires will be better. The longer this green flag run goes, the better off Kyle Busch will be. Because if another caution comes out, he's probably going to have to take that third set of tires already. But as we're approaching the halfway point in this race, he's used half of his tires. So it's starting to even out. He used those first 2 sets, had the second new set on after the set he, not counting the set he would have started the race on. 2 of the 4 would have been used when we restarted lap 49 for that most recent caution, but this is definitely the longest green flag run of the race. Almost got into the wall off turn 4, up into the marbles, but kept it off the outside wall. Crocker cutting it pretty close herself. Busch definitely tightening up. Quarter of a tank of gas left for the 5. Waiting to see exactly when the first car will pit during this run. Crocker top 5 in the point standing so far this Busch Series season, and did get her first win on the last mile-and-a-half racetrack we were at, which was at Las Vegas. That was a 50% race. Trying to get her first 100% race win this season as far as the race length goes. A lot better corner through turns 3 and 4 that time for Busch. Lost just a little bit in 1 and 2. Again, he seems to be a lot better in 3 and 4 than turns 1 and 2 pretty much all day today, no matter what setup he's had in the car. Yeah, you're right. This year will be the 75th anniversary year of NASCAR. I've seen some cool merch for it this off-season as well. Might get myself a t-shirt. Just past halfway through our first race of the evening. About an eighth of a tank of fuel left for Kyle Busch at this point in the fuel run. Kyle Busch has led about 4 laps today. And Aaron Crocker was able to get back around him eventually, after Busch had initially taken the lead. Crocker leaving a lot of bottom open through 3 and 4, which wasn't quite close enough getting into the corner to have a shot to get to the inside. Almost there into turns 1 and 2. Busch maybe a little too patient that time. Be interesting to see how the green flag pit stops exactly shake out the running order also. Oh, Aaron Crocker going to pit from the lead this time, so Kyle Busch will stay out and regain the race lead. Crocker will be one of the first car, actually the very first car to pit during this run. That's interesting. That would mean that she is likely going to be the one to cycle to the lead if I had to guess. We'll wait and see just to make sure. Kyle only going to be able to go a couple more laps on fuel himself. I'll just take it to the end of the run just to be safe. Just kind of hope that we don't get a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops that potentially traps him a lap down if he has already made a stop at that point. His teammate Brian Vickers is on his way into the pits. Busch will not make an adjustment change this time. Be the first of his 3 stops in which there will be no change made. Busch will pit at lap 109. He'll stay out, lead this lap at the line. He'll pit the following time. Third stop of the day for Busch, off turn 4. Power slide coming into the pits. He definitely got there with a lot of speed. 4 tires and fuel. He'll top off. Again, third stop of the day for Kyle. I don't know anything about rally racing, so I wouldn't be able to, to answer that one. Some Boyers in. Kyle Busch trying to get up to speed on the inside of the racetrack. Aaron Crocker is easily cycled well ahead of Kyle Busch. No shocker there. Busch should be in second still, though. Crocker pitted about 5 laps or so before Busch. And is indeed back in the lead. But Kyle in second place in turns 1 and 2. About 2.9 seconds behind the 6. Be in lap traffic fairly soon. Mark was asking a trivia question down in the chat. I do have two trivia questions tonight. One for each race, and because we're just past halfway, I'll give the Kansas track fact out for you guys right now. And it's going to be a tough one, but who is the inaugural Xfinity Series winner at Kansas? That is the first question for the trivia today, as Kyle Busch just ran his fastest lap. And today's trivia question on the channel: who is the inaugural Xfinity Series race winner at Kansas? It's a tough question. We'll see if anybody maybe remembers it if they were around at that time. Or give you guys a hint at at the end of lap 115. I'll give you a hint, and then I'll give you to the end of lap 120 to try to get the question correct. It is not Dale Earnhardt. It's not Ryan Newman either. Watching the lap times, though, Kyle Busch is quickly closing on Crocker. 85 laps to go in today's race at Kansas. And race 19 on the season at Charlotte right after this in the same stream. It is not Jeff Gordon either. So the hint is going to be that this driver has never won a Cup Series points race. So this driver has never won a NASCAR Cup Series race in their career. Mark DeMar's got it. Jeff Green. Jeff Green had won the inaugural Xfinity race at Kansas. That is tonight's trivia question answer. So congrats to Mark for getting that trivia question right. We'll have another one in race 2 of the doubleheader once we get halfway through the second race tonight. There'll be a Charlotte track fact for the Xfinity Series as well. Busch to the inside of a lap car into the tri-oval. Less than a second behind Aaron Crocker for the lead now. I've only had to deal with one lap car, and I'd say both the 5 and the 6 got around the lapper pretty quickly. Yeah, I don't know who Michael Robier is in the chat. I don't know if that's a fake account from anybody or not. And if it is a fake account, I don't know what was going on there. Why do I feel like that's the same apron guy as before? And if it's not, see ya. Oh, whether it is or isn't. We've had way too much nonsense in the chat when it comes to trolling people and you don't need that kind of negative criticism in the chat. Just getting a little tight in the middle of the corners. He was starting to catch traffic for the first time in a little bit. Aaron Crocker, Kyle Busch back to battling for the lead again with a little less than 80 laps to go. They're also battling through lap traffic at the same time. 31.018 that last lap, fastest of the day for Busch. Into turns 1 and 2. Slides a little bit too far wide, and he's in the outside wall. He can't get off of it until he gets to the exit of the corner, and he's going to lose a lot of ground. Dropped Kyle Busch over a second off the race lead. This car's perfect, and he was running some of his fastest laps of the race when he was in clean air, but once he catches traffic, this 5 car just does not handle the same. You don't even warn people for that kind of behavior. You just got to get rid of them right away. Probably another 10-year-old. No offense to anybody that is 10 that is watching and is polite in the chat, or whether you're not chatting. I'm not stereotyping that all 10-year-olds misbehave, but just generalizing. About as much lap traffic as you're going to see in the span of a few laps at a mile and a half coming up right in front of the leaders. So they're about to battle once again. There's like 9 cars right in front of them. See what's going to happen. Kyle Busch's car is a little tighter. And make any adjustment changes during that pit stop. Rocker blocking Busch all the way down the back straightaway. Going into turns 3 and 4. Busch trying to get to the inside of the 6. It's still able to block the 5 car in the front stretch. Crocker slides way up the racetrack now, and the lap car gets underneath her. And Kyle Busch is going to make the pass for the lead. Easily. Crocker's still stuck on the outside, and Kyle Busch looking to pull away. That was a big mistake from the 6. .060 that last lap. And sure, as if things in the chat weren't bad enough. Here we go. Kyle Busch is quickly pulled away from Aaron Crocker. Well, definitely the biggest lead Kyle Busch has had outside of those few laps. He was able to stay out of the pits longer than Aaron Crocker to lead in this race. We will qualify for our second race today, but no practice going into that one at Charlotte. Kyle Busch trying to go for his 8th win of the season and try to go back-to-back for the second time. .1,013 laps left for Busch coming into the race today. And again, a 3.3 average finish as well. Second and a half off the lead. Not sure exactly when Busch is going to want to make his final stop. Knowing he only has one set of tires left, they're probably wise just to take this run as far as he possibly can before pitting. Halfway out of fuel at this point in the run with 61 laps to go. So he continues to slowly pull away from Crocker. I didn't even see that Kenseth is a fraud. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I'm like missing the chat itself. He was reported. I didn't even see who, like, I didn't even see a comment. I see that you hit him, but I didn't see, like, anything else with it. I didn't even see a comment. Like, I don't even have, like, an icon for him to click on my screen. You guys have to let me know what's going on in the chat, because I have no clue what's going on. Saw some sparks flying up ahead. Might have been contact between a couple cars. Oh, contact between the lap cars out of the rear view of Kyle Busch. Was it the same, was it the same account as the other one? And they changed their name, or what? Like, I didn't even see that name pop up in the chat at all. .2-second lead for Kyle Busch with about 52 laps to go at Kansas Speedway for the Union Way 300 rather. Our first of 2 races today, then we'll have a night race at Charlotte coming up after this. 2 100% Busch races on this Sunday evening live stream. A 2.2-second lead for Kyle Busch. Everybody still has to pit one more time. Busch only has 1 set of tires left at the end of this race as well. I'd say he's probably getting through lap traffic better than anybody else in the field right now. Lap cars really making it easy for Busch to make these passes for position as well. Not for position, but just passes in general. After the next 3 lap cars ahead of Kyle Busch, there's going to be nobody else in his vicinity anytime soon. Nothing but a clean racetrack up ahead of that. He'll be back into clean air for pretty much up until he ends up pitting again. clipping the apron a little bit. Right in line behind the 103. Busch on the bottom. Going to the inside into turns 3 and 4. Drove it in pretty deep that time to get to the inside of the 103. Sliding up the track a little bit, the 103 into the outside wall. Busch will clear him off of turn 4. 2.3 second lead now. And the laps are winding down for anybody to try to get to Kyle Busch. Again, we're going to have one more set of pit stops. Crocker pitted a handful of laps before Busch the first time, was able to pull away. Is that the chance that maybe she can get to the lead? We'll have to wait and see. None of the leaders have pit yet. Well, some of them pitted as soon as the window opened up, but nobody that was actually competing for the win necessarily pitted that early. Quarter of a tank of gas left for Busch at this point in the run. He could probably get pretty close to 30 laps to go before he ends up having to pit for fuel purposes. 20 likes on the stream, though. Appreciate that tonight. Still have another race yet as well. So we are well on pace for 40 plus likes on the stream this evening. And a lot of clean air around Kyle Busch. Really trying to take advantage of it. Definitely going to be able to save his tires during this run. Flatten my funnel. Brandon Martinez, welcome into the stream also. .6 second lead and still growing for Kyle Busch in the 5. Trying to go on his way to his 8th win of the Busch Series season. If he sweeps the doubleheader today, it would be 9 wins. He's only finished outside the top 10 once. Outside the top 8 once, really, and that was a 14th place finish at California. We do have a second race at California yet before the end of the year, too. So second to last race of the season, if, of course, we don't clinch the championship before then. Which we're well on pace to doing so by even a couple more races than that, with how strong Kyle Busch has been. And you just wonder, when will the hot streak finally end? Because you'd have to imagine Busch is going to end up slipping up in a race at some point in time. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. And it may not be in this first race of the doubleheader today either. Okay, that makes sense. I was waiting. There was a long pause there for somebody to mention something in the chat about it. $39 to go. I'd imagine Crocker's still in second. I don't think Boyer or anybody else has maybe ran her down. I'm almost wondering, though, if Kyle Busch has a chance at the most laps led in this race. I wouldn't have thought that he was going to have a chance to lead the most laps, but he has led quite a few during this green flag run, specifically this fuel window. Led a few extra laps, of course, staying out longer than Crocker as well from the pits. I believe Erin Crocker just pitted that last time. She was the first to pit during the last fuel run, and it seems to be the case here, at least for those that are having to pit because of fuel and tires at this point in the run, and not because they're pitting because the window is open to the end like we saw some cars do at the beginning of the run when we had about 60 laps to go. So now it's a 3.9 second lead for Busch. Rear tire in the yellow on the tire wear indicator right now for Busch. Crocker pitting well before Kyle, though. Caution pretty much trapped Crocker lap down the middle of green flag pit stops yesterday in the first third of the race. During the first of 3 scheduled pit stops at the Old Spice Speedway. "35 laps to go." Brian Vickers into the pits now. Race is not over yet. No, we haven't had any cautions yet either. I don't think you were gone that long. Maybe as long as you thought you were. Busch will pit this time by at lap 168. Final set of tires about to go on the car. He enters turns 3 and 4. And on to pit road goes Kyle Busch. An even better pit road entry than the first time. So 4 tires, full tank of gas here, and no adjustment changes for Kyle Busch. Final stop of the day with a little more than 30 to go. So if we do get any more cautions, he will have to stay out, regardless if he wanted to pit or not, with this being the final set of tires going on the car. All those early yellows, though, those 3 cautions in the first 49 laps, it was making things a little interesting for the tires situation there, but out onto the track goes Kyle Busch. He's looking to get up to speed. .139 car on pit road right now, and Erin Crocker, I believe, is the car behind Busch as Busch is getting up to speed off of turn 4. So her pitting even more than 5 laps before Busch that last time has definitely helped Kyle. One more car still has to hit pit road in front of the 5, and it would be the 109 car who just led that last lap at the line. So we have a fantasy driver out in front. He's not the first car ahead of Busch, but he's the next car up ahead after that. I think that might be a driver that pitted as soon as the window opened at the end of the race. I could be wrong on that. Who knows? Maybe he still has to pit. 30 laps to go. Busch in second. Big run on the 113, gets to the inside into turns 3 and 4. And the 113 into the wall pretty hard off turn 4. Crocker had to check up from behind to keep from smashing into the back of that car. Busch overdrives 1 and 2 just a little bit. Daytona 500s. I don't think he's trying to spoil anything. I mean, it's not really spoiling anything. I mean, I'm not planning on watching that race anyway this week. I don't even have the poll up for what race we are going to watch next week, so I don't think he's really trying to. I think he's just throwing out some random NASCAR facts in the chat. So 0.7 of a second lead for Kyle Busch. Was about 2.8 to 2.9 before we had pit stops. There is no lap traffic anywhere around the 5 right now. I don't know that he's going to catch a lap car before the end of this race. He didn't have anybody in front of him at the time of his pit stop, and that's the case once again. So it's really opened up. They had very dense lap traffic much earlier in the race than what they do now. Busch has a few lap fresher tires than the 6 of Crocker behind him. We'll see if Aaron Crocker has anything for Kyle Busch, and maybe whoever's in third might have a shot yet. This being the final run to the checkered flag. On fuel, I mean, again, we could see a caution. We've gone well over 100 laps since the last restart. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, man. Dang it. I was looking at the chat. Yeah, he's not spoiling anything that shouldn't already be. I mean, the races are done. It's not like... It's different when we're actually watching our Throwback Thursday live streams. I don't want, like, anybody to spoil the race as it's going on. It has nothing to do with this stream at all. I mean, I'm pretty well aware of who's won most of the Daytona 500s. I don't even know if we're able to watch all of them from way back when anyway. Aaron Crocker, Clint Boyer battling for second place behind Kyle Busch. Busch trying to drive away again. Had a little bit of a pressurized positioning there. But as the battle for seconds going on behind him, he's slowly starting to pull away again. Just has to continue to hit his marks. Boyer gets tight in the dirty air behind the 6. Busch kind of overdrove the middle of 3 and 4 again, though. Just don't feel like this should be as close of a race as it actually is. As far ahead as Kyle Busch was at this point in the run, and it wasn't that the pit crew made any mistakes. I think just how much Aaron Crocker really short-pitted versus Kyle Busch was able to close that gap down over 2 seconds. And Busch was getting through lap traffic so much better than everybody else as well. $15 to go. And we will have one more race on the stream as we go to Charlotte next. It'll be another full race. Kyle Busch's car's handling pretty well at this point in the run. He knows he doesn't have to go too long on tires from when he last pitted. It's only going to be a 32-lap stint. So he shouldn't have to really worry too much about Crocker and Boyer behind him, I would have to think. Kyle Busch is going to be okay, even though as of right now, might look like he could lose the lead at any moment, which would definitely happen if he makes a mistake. Going pretty far wide off the exit of the corners compared to what he would like. Crocker did not get into the corner very well, though, into 3 and 4. Could have been an intentional wide and out entrance, but I think Boyer was able to close the gap as a result and almost got to the inside of the 6. And again, Boyer looking low into turns 1 and 2. Now he's the one going a bit wide off the exit of the corner. 10 to go this time by for Kyle Busch at Kansas. Crocker trying to go for back-to-back wins on a 1.5 miles. Busch left a lot of bottom open that time through 3 and 4, but Crocker not close enough to get to the inside of the 5. And 10 to go for the top 3. Busch a little bit wider than what he wanted to go again. Gonna block the bottom down into turn 3. Pretty low entry that time at the 6 in line right behind, but Busch not giving up the bottom. Crocker tight in the dirty air off turn 4, almost gets into the wall. 9 to go, lost a little bit of ground that corner. Busch has been better through 3 and 4 today than in 1 and 2. Pretty much the entire race. Busch continues to stay mainly mistake-free here in this final run. Boyer pretty wide off the bottom through 3 and 4 again. Clinton Boyer trying to get alongside each other. Kyle Busch really wants those two to battle it out hard for second. That would help him out a ton. Kyle just ran his fastest lap of the race at 30.994. I think that was the first time we've had a lap time in the 30-second lap barrier. Great lap from the 5. Definitely needed it. Had a late race caution at Old Spice Speedway, which set up a restart with about 18 laps to go yesterday. And a lot of late race cautions in recent races. The 2 races before that as well, Daytona and Nazareth, ended under cautions. Daytona didn't end under the yellow. It ended in a green-white checker. Nazareth as well, green-white checker, but Vegas ended under caution. Handful of races ago. 5 to go this time by. Crocker pulled Clint Boyer that last lap. Busch clips the apron a little bit through 3 and 4. Luckily, the apron's a little more forgiving here. He really got extremely loose one time after clipping the apron this entire race. It's gotten a little bit tighter depending on where he hits it in the corner the few times he has hit it. He's trying to be aggressive with that line, though, and take the shortest way around possible. He's cutting it a little too much at times. A lot better for 3 and 4 that lap. 4 to go. Into turns 1 and 2, Busch lifts a little bit to try to keep it off the wall. And Crocker to the inside now. That is terrible for Kyle Busch. The one time he came up off the bottom enough and Aaron Crocker is down underneath. Busch holds on to the outside well. Gets down in front of Clint Boyer. 3 to go, and Aaron Crocker trying to go for her second win of the season. Into turn 1. Crocker going wide now. Busch trying to get to the inside, but can't do so. Oh, Crocker body slams Busch. On the back straightaway when Busch had to run to the inside. 2 to go at the line. The 6 and the 5 side by side for the lead. Busch up the track just a little bit. Here comes the 2 of Bowyer. Wanting to win. Busch is clear for the lead on the back straightaway. The 2 with a deep dive going into 3 and 4. Kyle Busch a little arrow loose that time. And Busch is going to get to the inside as a result. Coming to the white flag. It's the 5 and the 2 side by side for the lead heading into turn 1. Busch on the top, which is not where he wants to be. Bowyer down low. And off the exit of the corner, Clint Bowyer has the lead. Bowyer got loose. He got intimidated off turn 4. Kyle Busch to the bottom. Squeezes the 2 into the wall, but it's not enough, and Bowyer is going to win at Kansas. Bowyer almost gave it up off turn 4, but he does not and gets his 4th win of the season. 3rd win, rather, of the season for Clint Bowyer. Well, dang. I don't know how I lost that race, honestly. But I lost it. And Clint Bowyer gets the win for the 3rd time this season. 41 laps led for him. Kyle Busch finishes 2nd with 75 laps led. Aaron Crocker led 79, finishing in 3rd. That was the most laps led. Kenny Walls finished 4th. Brian Vickers led that first lap from the pole, ends up 5th. Luke Trigger in 6th. Shane Neal 7th. Casey Kane 8th. Michael Jordan Jr. 9th. And Brandon Miller rounds out the top 10. I have no clue how I lost this race. I made that mistake when I was looking at the chat a little too long when I had about an 0.8 of a second lead, and that's where the pressure got behind us in the first place. I feel like I should not have lost that race. We didn't have the best car throughout most of it, but then I ended up finally figuring out how to drive the car with how it was handling in the second half of the race, and it's doing a little better. $15 cars finished on the lead lap. And quite a few DNFs. Clark, John Hamilton, Taylor, Kennedy, Smith, all DNF'd. 5 cars failed to finish. 1/10 of a second margin of victory. Hour 57 minutes total race time today. Average speed of 153.72 miles per hour. And 18 lead changes with 3 cautions for 9 caution laps. We'll check the point standings and then we'll head to Charlotte for race 2. That's a bummer. I feel like I should have won this race. Dollar General 300 coming up next. A nighttime race. And is that what Clint Bowyer needs to maybe go on a hot streak of his own? Even if he does, though, he's going to need a lot of help if he's going to win the championship. Felt like I ran a near perfect race up until the very end. Just with keeping the car clean, staying out of trouble. Still found a way to lose. Still sitting at 7 wins. But yeah, 3rd for Bowyer. He's now got the 2nd most wins this season. It's the 15th top 5 and the 17th top 10 of the season for Busch. $1,088 laps led on the year. Average finish going to be a little bit below a 3.3 now with that 2nd place run, but the worst is yet to come, so you think I'm going to do worse in this next race? We'll see. 476-point lead drawn out now. I'll update the point standings at the top of the screen, and then we'll get into the qualifying at Charlotte. Boyer back to second in points. Oh, sorry, Vickers still second in points. Boyer only gains 10, though, on the points leader himself. I guess the consolation prize for Clint Boyer would be the fact that he has a chance to win the championship if it wasn't for the Busch, or the Cup regulars running with the Busch Series crowd for points specifically. John Hamilton lost a couple spots. DNF, he's dropped 2 spots in the standings. The fact that we have over a 1,100 point lead over Brandon Miller in 11th is insane. Oh, jeez. Alright, hopefully the Mr. Clean crew can have some cleaner pit stops in this one. I'm absolutely obliterating the field right now. Point standing wise.
welcomes you to Lowe's for live NASCAR Busch Series racing. Many of the teams call Charlotte, North Carolina home, so a wood here would mean more to many of these drivers. Every Busch Series driver wants to do well here as they try to impress all the team owners.
All right.
One thing is the racing here at Lowe's Motor Speedway always brings so much fantastic. The racing here at Lowe's is about to get underway, so let's take the track.
I'm adding some extra downforce into the car here. Go half around a wedge. And hop right into qualifying, hopefully. Qualify well. I qualified well in the first race. We just had a different kind of a start. Alright. We're about to get race 2 underway, but first we qualify 2 laps to try to set the quickest time. First lap will be a warm-up. Next 2 will be timed. Kyle Busch just hoping he's got a quick car. "15 races left for Kyle Busch to try to clinch the championship. 14 after the checkered flag flies in our second race today. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have a Cup Series race on NASCAR 06 at Daytona, 400-mile race. We have 7 races to go in our season there. Gonna need a clutch performance out of Greg Biffle. The handling of the car feels much better than what my car did at Kansas, I'll say that much. At least for the first couple laps. And qualifying 4th with a 30.731 on lap 1 for Kyle Busch. And he's got a shot to go for the pole here on lap 2. Pretty good through turns 1 and 2 that time. Keeping the wheel as steady as he can. He is going for it. Off turn 4. Down to the start-finish line. Pole for Kyle Busch. 30.664. Well, that's a good way to start on one of my worst tracks. Alright, I'm excited about that. Clint Boyer qualifies second as we're about to get into the race. Our teammate Brian Vickers will be starting in 5th. Green flag in the air. We're underway at Charlotte for race 2 of our doubleheader tonight. Another 200 laps, 300-mile race. And a great start for the 5. The 2 quickly gets to the bottom. Maybe going to look for the top in the middle of the corner. Kyle Busch is trying to maintain the lead. Try to get this opening lap led at the front of the field. He's going to block the inside with Bobby Labonte. Not really worried about the 2 of Boyer, who is still on the outside lane. And Kyle Busch is going to lead the opening lap at Charlotte. The Lowe's Motor Speedway. Oh, Labonte into the wall off turn 4, stacking the pack up. Busch leads the first lap. And Vickers goes from 5th to 2nd on that opening lap. Boyer back in 5th, I believe. Lost quite a bit of ground, so the HMS Chevrolets are running 1-2. The youngest on the organization in the Cup Series. And now there's contact off turn 4 between Vickers and the 135, and Vickers is in the wall as Busch continues to lead. A lot of contact going on behind him off turn 4. Busch is glad he's not in it. We're going to refuse to lose in this race. I'm getting 1 win tonight, dang it. .36 in qualifying for Busch. 37 that last lap. Only the 3rd lap of the race, though, but he does have that clean air advantage. He's not going to be as aggressive with trying to run the bottom of the track. You clip the apron at Charlotte, you're going around for a spin. It is not forgiving at all, like it was at Kansas. So it's kind of risky because you risk giving up that bottom lane as well in the middle of the corner, which could also get you into some trouble. .135 car is in 2nd, so one of the fantasy drivers off to a good start today. Not even sure where he qualified. .30.712, 2 laps in a row for Busch. You know how hard this track is to pass. Again, it's the hardest 1.5 miles to drive on this game. Kyle Busch off to a tremendous start. Less restarts we have to deal with today, and the bunching of the field, the better for the 5. Definitely off to a good start. 30.679 that last lap at the line. That was almost as fast as his pole lap. It's about 15 one-thousandths of a second off from his pole time that last lap. And I think he will run faster than his pole time at some point in this race. Just a matter of when. Appreciate you taking care of what was going on in the chat there, Billy. Tell you what, my track record at Charlotte in the Cup Series is terrible. Only ran 3 races there in the Cup Series on NASCAR 06. I DNF'd at all 3 of them. 2 Coca-Cola 600s and 1 500-mile race there. Luckily, the distance today, again, is 300 miles. Might make it more likely that I can make it to the finish. And if Kyle Busch could do so, get a good finish once again. The way it's looking right now, he may grow that points lead out over 500 points over 2nd place on his teammate Brian Vickers. Gained points in the last race despite finishing 2nd. Clint Boyer stealing the win in the final couple laps. And there it is. That lap was faster than his pole time, 30.652. Be interesting to see what this car is going to handle like on the long run. 35 car slipping back just a little bit as well. Take the first field pass of the race and go back to Brian Vickers in the 57 at the start-finish line. See how far back he fell. We're getting into the wall just a few laps in. So we'll run 2 laps with him. He's back in 11th right now. Right behind the 60 of Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards trying to pass Shane Meal. Edwards almost into the walls. He got loose off of turn 4. Vicker with a 30.658 that last lap as he closes on Edwards. He's 3 seconds off of his teammate. Get underneath of Carl Edwards for position that time. But back to Busch we go, who has now a 1 second lead. Some good things going on for Kyle Busch at the front of the field. Into the second and final field pass we go here this next time by. Like I said, just getting him out of the way here early. Vickers has just taken over his spot over Carl Edwards in the 60. Pass for 10th place. Trying to get back to where Shane Meal in the 32 is. Chiefs down by 3 to the Bengals. Vickers has crashed off turn 2. He clipped the apron. It didn't even look like he really clipped it. Oh my gosh. But caution's going to be out for the first time, and he's going to go to the tail end of the field, unfortunately. So easy, and that's what I mean with how difficult this track is. Things were looking very good, at least all the way through the corner until it wasn't. And he didn't even go below it. He just had the left side tires on the white line, and that was enough. Field will pit here, but Brian Vickers cannot pit for fuel or tires as he caused the caution, so he may go to the front. We'll see who's going to win the race off pit road. Pretty good hit for Vickers onto that inside wall. No safer barrier down there where he did hit. So Vickers will get 5 bonus points as he'll be the leader on the restart. Green flag back in the air. Kyle Busch will be in second. Vickers with a good launch here initially. He's going to go to the outside. He's going to give Busch the lead down on the bottom. Good teamwork there. That worked out perfectly. So Busch has still led every green flag lap in the race today at the start-finish line as everybody gets pitted one time. And at the start-finish line, we'll go back to Kyle Busch for the rest of this race. tough because Kyle was really pulling away. He didn't need that caution. He overdrives turns 3 and 4 just a bit. Vickers has lost second place. Bobby Labonte into P2. Kyle's car got a little aero loose with the 19 behind him, and when he got aero loose, he clipped the apron, got even more loose, and that allows Labonte and Vickers to get by. It's amazing how quick the handling went away there. Kind of similar to Vickers. Busch to the inside of the 57 as he's trying to get back towards the lead quickly. Got a car blowing up on the inside of the track heading into turns 3 and 4. It was a 121. Busch to second. Really doesn't want to waste any time trying to take the lead away from Bobby Labonte as he is looking low into turn 3. Oh, contact! Whoops. Stelly ran the 19 car up into the wall. Busch back out in front. So he clipped the wall himself. He just pushed a little too hard trying to get underneath the 19 to get to the lead there. Kyle Busch back out in front. Vickers again to second. Labonte in line in third. Right in front of one of the Old Spice cars of either Tony Stewart or Luke Trigger. Bonnie again to the inside of the 57. Personally think Kyle Busch is going to be alright. Just had to get a few laps into that restart first. Really start to settle in. Just ran his fastest laps. 30.613 that last time at the line. Quite surprised that Brian Vickers is actually still in third. He can still go a little bit of a ways on fuel. I'd have to imagine he could probably take it anywhere between laps 60 and 70 before he'll have to pit. So he's kind of hoping for a caution before that. Ideally for himself. Busch definitely staying dialed in. .598 that last lap for Kyle. with the car floating up off that white line a little bit, and at least it's security knowing that he's going to make it through the corner without spinning out. Outside of that contact with Bobby Labonte a little bit ago and battling for the lead, Kyle Busch has kept his car extremely clean today. Through 32 laps and wants to keep it that way going forward at all costs. He's definitely got a faster car than what he had at Kansas. And he finished second at Kansas. Again, he's led all but 2 green flag laps to Bobby Labonte, and Vickers led a couple under the caution. Another fastest lap, 30.597 for Kyle Busch. Bobby Labonte's hanging right there with him, so that tells me that the 19's very fast as well. The fact that Busch is having to run his fastest laps of the race just to stay in front of him. So even though Busch's car is probably faster compared to the rest of the field than what he had at Kansas, at the same time, it may not be the fastest car in the field today. Another fastest lap. 3 consecutive laps, he has ran literally 1/1000th of a second quicker than the lap before. Not going to be able to do it this time. He was off the bottom by a little bit more than the few laps before that. Still 36 though, and it was still a lap faster than what he ran to sit on the pole. So a track that's got pretty decent amount of tire fall off in the year 2005. Both Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch staying in a tight battle. Not letting one pull away from the other no matter who leads. Kyle Busch let the pressure get to him at Kansas. He's not going to let that happen 2 races in one day. It does seem like Brian Vickers is still kind of holding everybody else further back. He's holding them up throughout the field. Bobby Labonte looking low again. On the back straightaway heading towards turn 3. Busch going to go down to try and block the 19 into 3, and he does successfully. Labonte immediately has to run the top of the track all the way through the corner. Barely keeps it off the wall. It's the most narrow 1.5-mile track on the schedule as well, and I think that's part of what lays into its difficulty, that and the lack of grip around the racetrack on this green surface as well. The 1 year in which they had it. Busch going wide through 3 and 4 on his own, but Bobby Labonte not going to be able to take the lead again. That was as wide as Busch has gone since leading. After Labonte got around him the first time, at least. So I'm surprised the 19 didn't get to the inside of the 5. Labonte could be playing it pretty patient right now, too, though. I wouldn't doubt it. Patient in the sense of maybe not trying to pull out a line and necessarily pass the 5. Bengals beat the Chiefs. Ice Demon King 92 Hammer, thanks for tuning in. Labonte going low for the lead off turn 4, side by side. Busch couldn't hold the outside very well. And that's going to allow Bobby Labonte to clear at the start-finish line for the lead. So Bobby Labonte back out in front at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Yeah, Lamar Jackson get hurt earlier. I noticed that he wasn't playing there at the end of the game. I couldn't watch it because it wasn't on my local listings. They had the Browns and Texans game on. That and the Lions and the Lions game. Can't remember who they were playing. I didn't watch it. Another fastest lap of the race for Kyle Busch. 30.548 at the line. So Bobby Labonte definitely just as quick. Busch trying to get underneath him, trying to side draft. Trying to stay away from that apron. It's going to be hard to get the 19 car back. I think Busch is just going to stay patient in line behind him because of it. Trying to force each other into a mistake at least. Side by side for the lead. Big moment there for Busch getting into turn one. He was getting squeezed by Labonte when he was on the inside of him all the way through the front stretch. Brooklyn Riot, thanks for tuning in. We'll be picking NASCAR 22 back up next week on the channel. Just took some slight time off of it, but we'll be going back to it. We'll have a few races a week. I do want to finish that season before the start of the actual season next year, so that way we can do one more season with that game when the season starts. I'm trying to roll through the NASCAR 06 content for right now, but we'll also pick, again, those races up next week as well. Kind of mix them in. Kyle Busch still closely in line behind the 19 of Bobby Labonte. As Labonte continues to lead. These guys still running 35s at this point. I was playing Madden 06 earlier. I lost to the Giants in the divisional round of the playoffs. I was so upset. It would have been the Eli Manning Giants with Michael Strahan. They have just a solid defense. I couldn't It was a low score he gave. It was 7-3. I literally could not move the ball against him. And their only touchdown was on a fumble return because it was a rainy game, too. And I had Javon Walker fumble a screen pass. And he took it the distance. Otherwise, I might have won 3-0. Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch show so far today, though. Kyle not really looking to pass Bobby at this point. He was leading for a little bit, but now it's Labonte's turn as they pull away from the rest of the field. We had an early caution. Ryan Vickers had spun off of turn 2. That has been it so far. We had 3 cautions in our first race today, all in the first 49 laps out of 200. Halfway out of field at this point in the run. Everybody pitted during that caution as well. We restarted at lap 20, so it was very early in the race. Just over 30 laps into this current green flag run. Kyle Busch is not that far behind the 19 of Bobby Labonte, though. It's amazing how close these two are running together without making contact with one another. Kind of similar to that point in the race earlier in the first race at Kansas between Aaron Crocker and Kyle Busch, where Busch just wasn't really looking at trying to make a pass. Seems to be the case right now. Battle between the 19 and the 5. That's a camera angle right there. Says banquet. Yeah, he almost won the Coke 600 in 2005 as well. So no surprise he's off to a good start in this race today. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Johnson on the mile and a half tracks in general at that time was the main reason why he won as many championships as he did. Because the chase was full of about 5 or 6 mile and a halves every single year, and he was always so good. Even if he wasn't winning, he was still finishing super consistent. Checking out, Jimmy Johnson definitely had that going well for him at that time. Led to a lot of their success that era of NASCAR. These two have not had to deal with lap traffic either with that early caution we did have. Still a lot of clean air in front of the 19. So they are definitely separating themselves from the rest of the field. Fastest car down, Jimmy Johnson always found a way to win at Charlotte, yep. He had 3 straight Coke 600 wins. Won a lot of the fall races there, too. Swept them in some of those years. It'll be interesting, though, if we get into lap traffic, if Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch will then start to actually battle for the lead. That's how Busch was able to pull away in the middle portion of the Kansas race, was him being better than everybody else in lap traffic. It was the only way he was legitimately faster than the rest of the field. And then it compacted closer together after those final pit stops. And there was no more lap traffic to be had the rest of the race. So they were able to slowly close back in on the 5. If he's just as good through the lap traffic today, he's got an even better car in the second race. So he should be alright, I would like to think. Yeah, that 4-wide move. 2019's Coke 600. There's been some good finishes in the Coke 600 in the last handful of years for certain. Was it 19 or 20 where he made the 4-wide move? I think it was 19. Well, no, because Kyle Busch won in 19, I think. I think it was 20 where he made the 4-wide pass on that green-white checker. 2017 was just flat out dominating. Kyle Busch still sitting behind Bobby Labonte for right now. They should get to lap traffic before green flag pit stops. The plan for Busch is just going to be to stay out as long as he can. That'll be one way to lead a few more laps, because he has led quite a few laps today, but so has the 19. So they're pretty close in the laps led category. It says I'm bump drafting, but I'm not actually bump drafting. I did actually get into him once a couple laps ago on the front stretch. Legitimately pushed him. But we've seen when we alternated through those different camera angles that there was quite a bit of a gap. I'm surprised Labonte's not getting any sort of aero loose with the 5 that close behind him, too. Kyle Busch got aero loose once earlier. The 19 was able to capitalize as a result. Another reason why the 5 is staying right where he's at, especially this late in the tire stint. Maybe he'll lead a little earlier on another tire stint. He feels the need to try to make a pass. Still running 35s. I mean, to lead that many laps in a stage racing era, too, when you consider the fact that you're guaranteed 3 cautions, so you're going to have to win the race off pit road every time, and he did. Unbelievable. And during green flag pit stops to still lead as many laps as he did also. Especially when a lot of guys try to split it in half in the stage racing era. And he was still able to do what he did in the longest race of the season back in 2017. That's something I probably couldn't even do in a video game. Maybe if I lowered the difficulty, I'd be able to. That would be about it. Even then, I probably might not be able to. We've gone wire to wire in races before, but usually not on intermediates. Short tracks, if we get a long enough of a green flag run that traps a lot of drivers a lap down. Got some cars pitting off turn 4 this time. Labonte held up behind a lap car. Busch to the inside of the 19 with Labonte getting held up. And Kyle Busch is going to end up taking the lead here. So use them lap cars as picks to get by the 19 of Bobby Labonte. Kyle Busch back out in front again, as he'll get by both lap cars now. Try not to get extremely aero loose with the 19 car right in line behind him still. Couple cars side by side coming out of the pits down on the bottom of the track. Both right side tires in the yellow on the tire wear indicator for Busch. 152 coming out of the pits now. When will Bobby Labonte pit, as well as when will Kyle Busch pit? Labonte going low as if he may pit this time. And he does. And Busch has to lift off turn 4. He still got into the wall. So Bobby Labonte has pit. Kyle Busch all by himself at the front of the field now as he continues to lead. Now he's got drivers on 4 fresh tires right in line behind him. 2 laps in a row, Busch has scraped the wall off of turn 4. Only hit the wall one other time the entire race before that. Grip level definitely starting to wear out at this point in the run. It's also why Busch is taking it as long as he is. Hoping that if it stays green all the way to the end of the race, that the final run won't be quite as long. Not quite a few lead lap cars still on the track. Doesn't want to risk going a lap down and then a caution coming out for the second time today. Apron Race fan, thanks for tuning in. Kyle Busch only going to be able to go a few more laps on fuel. Again, we restarted lap 20, so this is the 75th lap. Sorry, the 65th lap on this fuel run. Tires are getting pretty old. Clean air in front of him. Doesn't really have to worry about anything too much. Vickers just made a green flag stop, that's all. He's out of the pits now. Scheduled green flag stop for the 57. Kyle Busch will pit at lap 86. So he stayed out one more lap here. He'll pit this time by. He's the last car in the lead lap that has to make his second stop of the day. Will be the first green flag stop of our second race. And Kyle Busch will be on his way in this time. Perfect pit road entry for Kyle Busch. 4 tires and fuel and no adjustments on the 5. Man, Niners won 33-17 over the Dolphins. Out of the pits goes Kyle Busch. Bobby Labonte going to cycle back out in the lead. I kind of figured with him pitting before the 5. Getting up to speed, Kyle Busch is about 2 seconds behind Bobby Labonte. Should have enough speed to run him down on slightly fresher tires. Labonte pitted about 8 to 10 laps before Busch. Just has to be careful, take his time getting around the lap cars if they don't give him a whole lot of room. Good chance these guys are going to be able to make it on one more stop as well. Mistake-free race so far for Kyle Busch. Fingers crossed it stays that way to the very end. He's definitely going to have a good shot at least at a top 2 finish the way things are looking right now. That'll be both races today. He could get a top 2 finish and continue to have a better average finish. Race in and race out. The more we finish ahead of our average, which was 3.3 coming into the first race today. And it's either still at a low 3.3 or it's at a high 3.2 now. The second place run. 3 lap cars still between the 5 and the 19, but Labonte is not as fast as the 5 of Kyle Busch. At least through lap traffic, as Kyle Busch is very quick. And we've got a caution for just the second time today at lap 91, so we will not stay caution free, at least from that first yellow from Vickers, as Ryan Newman's going to go for a spin, and wow, a wild ride from Newman up on his driver's side door, and then slides to a halt in turns 3 and 4. The roof flaps did not do their job there. MC Video, thanks for tuning in. So caution is out once again. Going to maintain track position at the front of the field, and that big lead Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch had over the rest of the field is now gone. We had a couple of crazy restarts already. Lap cars to the inside. Green flag back in the air at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, lap 95, following our second caution. Kyle Busch giving a push to the 157. He quickly gets to the inside. That kind of stalled the momentum out for the 5, and now Labonte gets to the bottom underneath the 157 off of turn 2. And clears him. Into turns 3 and 4. Busch clears the lapper as well. Labonte gets loose. And Kyle Busch going to get underneath him. Side by side for the lead on the front stretch. Labonte got intimidated, and Kyle Busch is going to take the lead into 1. Well, Kenny Wallace did end up upside down in the last race. In this race, Ryan Newman, same spot too, off turn 4. It's the only place all the wrecks happen at Kansas. And so far today, we've had one on each end of the track at Charlotte. Yep, we will have a trivia question in a few laps. Kenny Wallace put pressure on Kyle Busch. Bobby Labonte's falling back. I would imagine Kenny Wallace is on the lead lap. Let's see if he's as fast as the 5. Able to keep up with him. Good restart, though, for the 5 to get to the lead on Labonte. Had a good initial launch. Took him about another half a lap or so, and he was able to get to the lead. Bobby Labonte's still stuck on the outside. I think he's just lost another spot, potentially. Busch caps Wallace off turn 4 onto the front stretch. So the biggest threat to Kyle Busch in the first half of the race is fading on this restart after restarting in the lead. And that would be Bobby Labonte in the 19. Kenny Wallace gets a shot at Kyle Busch. Busch may let him go and see if these guys can tango ahead of the rest of the field like Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch did earlier, but that's if Kenny has enough of a run to actually get alongside Busch going into a corner. Busch with an aggressive line through 3 and 4. Halfway home at the start-finish line through our second race tonight. We're through 400 miles of racing today. 450 miles of racing today. Another 150 to go. Off turn 2, Wallace almost to the inside of Busch. You're right, that seems to be where Kenny Wallace is maybe a slight bit better than Kyle right now. Kyle didn't give up enough of the bottom for the 22 to make the pass that time either. Busch got a little bit arrow loose off turn 4, but holds on to the lead again. And drove his way out of it. Kenny has not led today. In fact, we've only had 3 different leaders the entire race so far, the 5, the 19, and the 57. But only the 19 and the 5 were able to lead under green flag conditions. The 22 of Kenny Wallace looking to do so also. Busch did not get arrow loose that time. Even less of a chance for Kenny to try to take the lead. Yeah, there were a couple violent crashes in that one for sure. Wasn't that the one where Byron hit head on into the outside wall off turn 4? There's been some bad wrecks at Kansas in recent years. Ryan Preece's hit was pretty hard to see in that summer race in 2020. Anthony Alfredo's Xfinity wreck too. He actually flipped. Kyle Busch still holding his own here at the front. Almirola as well. I mean, he broke his back 2017 at Kansas. Seems like at times Kenny Wallace is getting off the exit of turn 4 a little bit better than Kyle Busch as well. He just can't get in the corner as good as the 5. And he's not rolling the center quite as well either. Right off the exit, he's got good straightaway speed though. Keep up with the 5. I'll have to pause it. Try to find a trivia question for our second race tonight. Try to get a track fact for you guys. So we'll pause it on the back straightaway and try to find that question. All right, let's see what I can find here. All right, it's a little bit of a tougher question here. In our Xfinity Series Charlotte Motor Speedway track fact is this: who is the only driver in NASCAR Xfinity Series history to qualify on the pole more than once and win at Charlotte, but it can't be in back-to-back races? So there are 3 drivers. Hang on. No, that's not the question. That's not the question because there's multiple answers here. I didn't think there was multiple answers, but there is. Scratch that. Let me try to find another one. I'm glad I was scrolling back through that a second time. I wonder it would have been a tough answer because there was actually 2 of them. So I'm going to actually put the trivia question in the chat in a poll. It wasn't Johnson. No, actually, the two were Harry Gann and Tim Richmond. It would have been very difficult as it was. But I'll put the poll in the chat, though. Give me a second to type this out for the trivia question. So you guys get to work together today. Alright, so today's trivia question is this. Which manufacturer has the most consecutive wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Xfinity Series? Is it Chevy, Ford, Pontiac, or Oldsmobile? That is going to be the question today, and we'll see who can answer it correctly. So you guys collectively in the chat get to try to guess this one. It's a tough question, but we'll see. And I'll give you guys till the end of lap 115 to answer that question correctly in the chat. So you'll have until the end of lap 115. Place your vote in the poll. Which manufacturer at Charlotte in the Xfinity Series has the most consecutive wins? Chevy leading the poll at 67%, the early going of that poll right now. And at the end of lap 115, we'll close the poll. I'll give you guys the answer. It's close because they're all very similar. 3 of them are actually tied for the second most consecutive wins, and then one of them has it by just 1 win over the other 3. Chevy has the most wins there overall, so yeah, that's what seems to be the consensus in the chat. That's what they're going with. Kenny Wallace, oh, he hit the wall off turn 4, but so did Kyle Busch. So they both lost their own momentum. Kyle might have actually lost a little bit more. Mark Martin starting to close in 3rd. Last race Mark Martin was in, he won. Which took place at Daytona just a few races ago. Busch rather, again into the wall, and that's going to allow Kenny Wallace to get back to the lead. So Kenny Wallace is back out in front again at Charlotte. Actually, it's the first time Kenny Wallace has led today after the mistake there from Kyle Busch. Kenny gets loose off turn 4, though, and Busch is going to have a shot to get back under him. That was a big moment by the 22. And the 5 is there. Busch clips the apron a little bit, can't complete the pass. Didn't spin out, luckily, like Vickers did earlier, and now here comes Mark Martin to the bottom. Thought about taking it 3 wide, thought better of it. Leaders all under each other right now. Busch back out in front again at Charlotte, and Wallace is in the wall off turn 4. He got loose again, but that time he got in the wall. And now it's a Mark Martin, Kyle Busch breakaway. Poor Kenny Walsh has dropped outside the top 5 now after that mistake. We stay green. For the Cup Series, they have the most wins. They made for the Xfinity Series too. I really have no clue who has the most. They've all had their dominant time periods, at least of those 4. They were winning a bunch. Even Toyota in recent years has won quite a few races at Charlotte. Both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Kyle Busch continues to lead on Mark Martin. Martin gets enough of a run to get underneath the 5. Kyle will let him go. Will try to drive in line behind him. Maybe Martin's got similar speed to what Bobby Labonte had earlier in the race. You never know. My worst mile and a half. I don't think I've ever won at Charlotte on NASCAR 06 in any series, so this would be a huge statement win for Busch once again, as he's had already a few of them this season. Couldn't get that 8th win at Kansas earlier. He finished 2nd. We'll see if he can get it today. Didn't have to wait too long for the next race. If he doesn't win this one, though, he will have to wait a couple days until the next race at Homestead, which isn't going to take place until Tuesday night. So we go to Daytona tomorrow night in the Cup Series. Busch has led so many laps in this race today. I'll pause it on the back straightaway this time by as well. Close the poll out, give you guys the answer to the trivia question. Fastest lap for Kyle Busch today of a 30.504. That last lap at the line is where he timed that in. So Mark Martin has pretty much come out of nowhere for this most recent restart after a caution that struck just after lap 100. So today's trivia question, I asked you guys in the chat, which manufacturer has the most consecutive wins at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Xfinity Series? There are only 6 votes. 83% of you said Chevy, 17% Ford, 0 for Pontiac, 0 for Oldsmobile. The answer was actually Oldsmobile. I thought that would stump you guys, figuring it was something older, but nobody guessed Oldsmobile. Or sorry, Pontiac. My bad, Pontiac's the answer. But nobody guessed that either. Oldsmobile's not the answer, Pontiac is. I can't believe I said that. Pontiac had 5 consecutive wins in a row in the 80s. It was the most all-time of any of those 4 manufacturers, or even manufacturers in general, in the Xfinity Series at Charlotte. Darrell Waltrip won 1 of those races. Tim Richmond won 2 of them. Dale Earnhardt won 1, and then Terry Labonte also won 1 in the Busch Series. Then Oldsmobile was second with 4 consecutive wins with Jarrett, and then Rob Moroso won 3 of them. Ford had also won 4 in a row at one point with Chad Little, and then Mark Martin winning 3 in a row in the 90s. And then Chevy most recently has won 4 in a row in the mid-2000s with Greg Biffle winning 1, Kyle Busch winning 1, 2 of them rather. Kyle Busch won 2, Greg Biffle won 1, and then Mike Bliss got 1 as well. I'm not sure, that might be a typo with Greg Biffle. I'm not sure why he was listed as a Chevy. I'm actually going to click on that race, 2003. That was his rookie season in the Cup Series. He should have driven for Ford. He was in the number 7, which was a Chevy. Kleenex Winn-Dixie owner was Ed Evans. So somehow Greg Biffle, despite being a rookie in the Cup Series for Ford, drove a Xfinity race at Charlotte in a Chevy. That's weird. I didn't know that. And I'm a Greg Biffle fan. The more you know. But Pontiac was the answer. Oh, gosh. Little arrow loose off turn 4 that time from Kyle Busch. Still arrow loose in the front stretch and still ran his fastest lap despite how loose he was off turn 4 of a 30.436. Imagine if I didn't get that loose. Probably would have ran like a 30.3 or 2 or something. Martin to the inside. Busch with a block on the back straightaway as he holds on to the lead into 3. Martin has not led yet today. Now he's going to get tight in the middle of the corner in line behind Busch. And Martin's in the wall off turn 4. He got a little too far wide. So close to getting to the lead, and now he makes a big mistake like Kenny Wallace did a handful of laps ago. Educated in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. $80 to go. Shane Meal is the new contestant in second, trying to take the lead from Busch. Martin's falling at least outside the top 4. I don't know exactly who's back there at 3rd and 4th, but it's not Mark Martin or Kenny Wallace, who has battled in recent laps. Maybe Bobby Labonte's back there. He fell back quite a ways on that restart. Has really been nowhere to be found. .398 that last lap for Busch. Another fastest lap of the race. As Ric Flair once said, to beat the man, you have to be the man. It was the other way around. Gosh darn it. To be the man, you have to beat the man. The man is Kyle Busch tonight. Who's going to step up to beat him, if anybody, is going to be the next question. Even though Busch hasn't dominated the race in laps led necessarily to this point, he might have the most laps led, but not by a lot over Bobby Labonte. He was just consistently riding in second, knowing he had the fastest car, not trying to push it. Second half of the race, he's pushing a little bit harder, obviously, because he's running faster laps than what he's had all day over recent laps. He starts to get too arrow loose with the cars behind him, though. He's going to let him go. Halfway through the fuel run right now. Another fastest lap, 30.369. .444 that last lap for Busch. 75 to go at the line this time by. Kyle was able to go about 67 laps on fuel earlier in the race. So that fuel window is going to open up fairly soon to the finish. Shane Meal pressuring Kyle, but Kyle hangs on. Didn't have to worry about getting arrow loose that time either, blocking all the way down the front stretch on the 32 behind him. Busch a little bit wide in 3 and 4. A lot of bottom open that time for Meal to try to make a move, but still couldn't. I think of the cars that have ridden in line behind Busch in second, Meal is probably the slowest of them. Busch clips the apron a little bit. Still holds on to the lead off turn 2. Didn't spin out. Got lucky. Meal lost ground off turn 4. Busch just trying to break the draft or whatever on the back straightaway. He'll start to put a little bit more pressure on him. Middle of the corner, though, the 32 car goes wide. The Old Spice machine right behind him almost got around. Down to 71 laps to go for Kyle Busch. Matt Kenseth is closing in. Meal to the inside of Kyle, off of turn 2. Down into 3. Big block by Kyle Busch. He's clear. And holds on to the lead again. That failed attempt to make a pass for the lead from Shane Meal is going to cost him. As now he has Tony Stewart underneath him. 35 flat that last lap for Busch. Again, a slight mistake there from Kyle. And that's actually Luke Trigger in the 133 car that's right in front of Busch. So a fantasy driver trying to spoil the party now. Busch a little air loose, getting into the corner. Trigger trying to get to the lead off turn 4. Busch did a good job keeping it off the wall. Luke Trigger leads his first lap of the race. He's going to be the one to take the lead away from Kyle Busch. And Kenseth's right behind him, not letting Busch get back to the bottom. Kenseth clips the apron. Busch going to get a good drive off of turn 2. Did a great job playing a little bit of defense on Kenseth. Now he throws the block on the 17 into 3. Kenseth may have gotten into the wall off turn 4 that time. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race. Kyle Busch sits behind Luke Trigger. Starting to get a little air loose at that point in the run, so he'll just sit behind Trigger for right now, and we'll see if these two can pull away from the rest of the field. Got a slow car on the bottom of the track entering turns 3 and 4 right now, trying to get to pit road, and it's J.J. Yaley in the 18. So J.J. Yaley has blown a motor today. And that fuel window's about opened up to make it on field to the end of this race. Luke Trigger and Kyle Busch trying to pull away. Trigger in the top 10 in points. So he's been consistent of the Busch Series regulars. Trying to dethrone the Cup guys. We have not seen a fantasy driver win a Busch race all season. There's a lot of them. Over half the field is full of them. Can Trigger be the one to step up to the plate today and get that W? Busch not really looking to pass him right now. Busch just trying to take control of his tires, sit second. Mainly because he's not getting pressured too much from behind by Matt Kenseth or Shane Meal in 3rd and 4th. These two are slowly getting away. Quite as fast as the Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch duo in the first half of the race. And though Bobby Labonte really nowhere to be found. The plan for Busch is to stay out of the pits as long as he possibly can once again. So that way it's less laps he has to run in the next fuel stint. Remember correctly, he pitted at lap 86. So he's definitely gone quite a ways on fuel to this point in the run. We did have a caution where drivers stayed out of the pits during this run as well. We got a few cars on pit road right now. So we're starting our second set of green flag stops and our 3rd pit stop total in the race. So that window is definitely open to make it on field to the finish. Kenseth pulling away from Shane Meal, but still not really reeling in Kyle Busch or Luke Trigger at all. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race. Keep thinking it's Tony Stewart, but it's not. Nope. Yeah, Stewart's in the 33. Same exact paint scheme. And the fact that he's a 33 and Trigger's in the 133, it makes a big difference. Trigger pulling to the bottom. He may pit this time. He does. Wow, Trigger pitting from the lead very early in the run, and Busch is out in front again. That was interesting that he pitted when he did, because Kyle Busch in the 5 is going to go back into the lead for now. He's still going to stay out. He's got a quarter tank of gas left. This is very interesting. Wonder how far ahead Luke Trigger may be able to cycle on Kyle Busch. We know Busch has the superior car, just has to remain mistake-free as he has all race long to this point. 60 laps to go. Thanks for tuning back in, Wade. 23 likes on the stream. If you are just tuning in for the first time, be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Matt Kenseth has just pitted. Who knows, maybe we get another caution today in the middle of green flag pit stops. I wouldn't doubt it, the way this has gone so far. I think it's definitely something that could happen. Last stop for Busch was with 32 to go in the first race at Kansas. Not going to be quite that late in this one. We have had more caution. Well, actually, I should say we've had one less caution. They were at much different points between both races. Ended that last race on a 152-lap green flag run out of the 200 laps total in the race. We're still running 34s at the front of the field. Fuel window 53 to 58 laps. Not for us, at least. Because we went about 66 to 67 on the very first run. Between that first caution, the restart of the first yellow at lap 20, and then pitting at lap 86 or 87. Eighth of a tank of fuel still for Kyle Busch, lap 147 at the start-finish line. He's not the only car on the lead lap that still has to pit. Somebody else out there yet. I don't think Vickers has pit yet. At least I haven't noticed him pitting. His icon down on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Both the rear tires on the yellow and the tire wear indicator for Busch. was surprised over 50 laps on them, though, that they're wearing out this badly on this racetrack specifically. Oh no, Busch has just spun. He clipped the apron. He did not hit anything, but he causes the caution, which is only the 3rd yellow of the day. He made a great save, but couldn't save the car from completely going around. It's the first time he has clipped the apron and spun all race. And it was all on his own. Towards the end of the tire stint with just over 50 to go. That is majorly problematic for the 5. It's going to trap quite a few cars a lap down. Anybody who has not pit yet will pit now, but Busch cannot take fuel or tires, causing the accident, unfortunately. And a major mistake late in this race for the 5. That's tough. I mean, he's lucky he doesn't have damage. His car's still going to be really quick, but Brian Vickers may have been the only car on the lead lap outside of Kyle Busch. Yeah, everybody who pitted before definitely stayed out. But there's going to be so many cars a lap down, you would have to think. Green flag back in the air. Quite a few, though, still in the lead lap, it appears, with 50 laps to go. Unbelievable. Oh, Busch is going to need a quick yellow in this one. He's going to stay out of the pits, even though his tires are more worn out than what they were. And the reason why he's going to try to risk it is because he needs a caution. Does not want to pit under green. A lot of these lap cars stacking up both the inside and outside lanes. A lot of 2x2 racing still going on. Busch is only going to be able to go a few more laps on fuel, it appears. Every car he's passed on the restart so far, all lapped down. Busch going up the hill a little bit. Another car got loose, a couple of them. Right in front of Busch on the outside. Busch gets down to the bottom, gets by. Rides in line right behind the 2 of Boyer. Underneath the 33 of Stewart. Busch is going to stay out this time by again. Just hoping we get that 4th caution of the race before he pits. He'll stay out this time by. He's going to pit at lap 156 under green. Contact into the wall with Boyer, unfortunately. Can't cause the caution. If we do get one. That was just a major mistake there from Kyle Busch. He'll stay out one more lap. He overdrove the corner on the inside of the 2. Busch will pit this time by as he fell back a spot to 16th. I think Miller, actually Brian Vickers was for position, I know for a fact. Michael Jourdain Jr. in the 10 car leads this race. Kyle Busch will pit this time by with 45 laps to go. A spin while leading has costed Kyle Busch big time today. He will pit off of turn 4. It'll be a 4-tire stop. He does have another set of tires left in this race. I hesitate. I almost went fuel only there, but those tires wouldn't have made it all the way to the end. And I only wanted to do that just to stay on the lead lap in case we got another yellow, but this is highly unfortunate. I mean, that was a mistake. I just didn't make that mistake all day, and I knew it was going to happen. But it's just so hard. This track, this and Dover is so hard to not touch the apron because of how narrow the track itself is. And when you do it, it spins you right out every time, too. It's not forgiving at all. And you saw it right there. Busch is now in 33rd, one lap down. He's got fresher tires than everybody else. And again, we know he's got a really fast car, probably the fastest car in the entire race. It's not going to matter if he can't get back on the lead lap. We're 16 cars on the lead lap, so he can get his way back up to 17th. That'd be the free pass position if we did get a caution. We're down to just 42 laps to go. 41 considering Busch is a lap down. This may be the worst finish for Kyle Busch this season. Hasn't finished worse than 14th all year. He's going to finish worse than that if he can't get back on the lead lap. And I don't even think there's enough laps for him to get back on the lead lap. Regardless, not without a caution. It's just crazy I spun out. I mean, you can see I'm running that same line nearly that I spun out before. Ran it the whole race. And that was the one time I made a mistake, and it really didn't even look like a mistake. It wasn't like, oh, I hit the apron and why did I do that? It was a weird feeling when I clipped the apron, to be completely honest, because it didn't really feel like the car was drifting down that way. It didn't really touch the apron. It touched that white line. Busch got really close to it there, but I mean, he's got nothing to lose at this point. He needs to run quick. So say he's not going to lose any more spots from where he's running in the order currently. I think the best thing that could happen here is Kyle Busch gets by as many cars as he can before a potential caution comes out, so that way in the restart he doesn't have as many cars to pass, and then hope for another caution once he gets into the free pass position. It could be his best way to get back on the lead lap at least. Everybody good on fuel to the end. Busch doesn't have damage after that spin. Some lead lap cars he's passing right now. Either that or cars that are 2 down, which it may be cars that are 2 down, because I don't think we have 10 cars out of the race. Haven't seen that many blow an engine, at least. Should have known this was going to be the track that ended the insane streak of 14th or better place finishes to start the year, and just all but one race outside the top 10. All but one race outside the top 8 to be exact. It's going to be another one. Unless there's an absolute miracle that could simply get Kyle Busch back in the lead lap. I honestly didn't think there were that many cars on the lead lap. There must have been quite a few cars in the pits when the caution came out. They weren't a lap down yet. So I was thinking there was only a couple that still had to pit, but that wasn't the case. Matthew Dorda Bruno, thanks for tuning in. But the good news is, Kyle Busch had about a 470-plus point lead coming into this race over his teammate Brian Vickers. Matt Kenseth hasn't won a Busch race this season, so he's looking to become the 9th different winner in the Busch Series through 18... Actually, this is the 19th race of the season. Still no passes for position here for Busch. All lead lap and 2 lap down cars he's passing. That was a pass for position that time, and he's up to 32nd. .30 to go for Matt Kenseth to steal a win tonight at Charlotte in the NASCAR Busch Series. Tired of heartbreak, man. We won at Old Spice Speedway, but outside of that race, it has been utter heartbreak 3 of the last 4 races for Kyle Busch. It's insane. Got the 109 car blocking him quite a bit right now. Busch gets underneath him off turn 4. Oh man, he got loose. I thought he was going to hit Kyle. He's crowding him. Probably because he's battling for position with less than 30 to go. Busch is way faster. Here's Bobby Labonte in the 19. He's fallen way back. He's probably not even going to get a top 10 finish at this rate. It's amazing how he fell off the pace. He probably went the wrong way on an adjustment during that second pit stop earlier. Then after losing ground on the restart, definitely costed him. Labonte on the inside of the 108. 108 on the lead lap. Busch with a run down to the bottom into turn 3. Underneath the 19. Didn't make contact with him. And that was a pass for position, so Bobby Labonte is a lap down right now. We got a car in the grass on the front stretch. Something happened there off turn 4. Somebody got a little loose. We stay green. So Labonte is in 29th. So both the 19 and the 5 who dominated this race, the 2 drivers with the most laps led, are outside the top 25 with 25 laps to go. What a turn of events. He had to have been a lap down when the caution came out. It's trapped him further back in the running order. Busch side draft in the 83 on the backstretch. It's pass for position. Busch to the inside of Ryan Newman, who crashed 116, got a little loose on the outside. Newman had to check up. Couple positions for Busch up to 25th. In line behind the 112 into turn 1. Again, 17th place would be the free pass position. If Busch could get there before a potential caution would come out. Kyle to the inside of the 112. I think he is there. Blocked all the way down the track. That 112 car is on the lead lap. Not battling Busch for position. Brandon Miller was going to try to take it 3 wide with the cars around him. Kyle Busch going to get by the 119. Miller blocking all the way down the backstretch. Busch going to follow him to try to get by the 83 on the outside. Busch to the inside of Miller off turn 4. Door to door, 21 to go. That's a pass for 23rd on Miller. A little slide job into 1 and 2 as Busch is clear. Busch slightly fresher tires than the rest of the field. Hoping to get into that free pass position, if at all possible, in case we get a late race yellow. Because he still has 1 set of tires left, and he would definitely pit if that is the case. Busch to the inside of Casey Kane. Busch drives it in deep into the corner, clears Kane with a clean pass. Now to 22nd. Into the inside of Aaron Crocker. Crocker was for a spot. Busch gets blocked by the 56. Chopped off on his corner entry into turn 1. Kyle looking low, has a run on the back straightaway. Can't get to the inside of the 56 into turn 3. Oh, 56 into the wall. That's going to slow Kyle up. Kyle intimidated him and got into the back of him as well there. 18 laps left. Kyle Busch to 21st. A few positions out from the free pass spot right now. He's getting some points back here at the end of the race at least. Not going to try to take too much of a hit. And I think Brian Vickers just a few cars ahead of him. I don't know that Vickers is inside the top 10 or not yet. He's not going to gain too many points on Kyle Busch from what we might have thought not too long ago. John Hamilton, Tony Stewart, nearly side by side off turn 4. A lot of racing going on in front of the 5. Holding each other up. Oh, big slide by John Hamilton as he barely cleared 57 of Vickers. Now he's trying to block him on the front stretch. These two may be battling for position. We know Vickers is on the lead lap at least. Boyer, who's 3rd in points, and just won the first race of the doubleheader at Kansas. But about 40 laps in that one. Big run for Busch. All over the back of John Hamilton right now. Into turns 1 and 2. Bowyer was for position. So is Tony Stewart. Busch to 19th. Bowyer, third in points, also trapped the lap down. That most recent yellow. Busch gets by Vickers. John Hamilton trying to throw a block on Kyle Busch. Busch hangs onto his car. Hamilton's in the wall. Busch is up to 18th. Busch did a great job not wrecking there. He's one spot away from the free pass position. So I do believe there are only 16 cars on the lead lap. And there isn't anybody that got in front of Kenseth and is still in front of him. That was a lap down on the restart as well. Problem is, not exactly sure who that 17th place car is right now. If it is potentially one of the two cars in front of Kyle Busch, I bet he's going to go for it. Trying to intimidate Mark Truex Jr., force him into a mistake. Truex slipping and sliding through 3 and 4 that last time. Busch to the inside of Truex off turn 2. Not sure if the 8 car is for position or not. Five just can't quite get to the inside of the 8. 10 to go. Busch to the inside of the 113. Truex got loose, sliding up in front of the 113 car. Kyle Busch to the inside of the 8. Truex is that spot. Busch is clear off turn 2 for 17th. So he has battled his way into the free pass position with just 8 laps to go this time by. If we did see a late caution, who knows? Problem is, we'd have not too many laps to go. Caution comes out, 5 or less laps left in this race. It's going to end the race. But assuming that there are 16 cars on the lead lap, Busch is in 17th, first car lap down, and Clint Bowyer in 18th right behind him. Even after Busch blew by the 2 still keeping up with him. Michael Jourdain Jr. wrecked Kyle Busch at Daytona. Just saying. Just a couple races ago. Running half speed when it happened. Busch trying to get around him, but Jourdain's blocking. And holding Kyle Busch up. We're not doing this again. Oh my gosh. Comes Bowyer down to the bottom. That's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. Bowyer back across the field. Oh my gosh. I was trying to wreck Jourdain. Somehow no caution through all that. 5 to go. Caution comes out now. The race is going to come to an end. Look at all the smoke from that lap before. Jourdain was blocking Busch again, and Busch was trying to get around him, and then Busch had enough, and on the back straightaway tried to pinch the 10 into the wall. Somehow Jourdain kept control of his car. 5 ended up ricocheting into the 2 because they were 3 wide. Busch still in 17th. Three to go for Kenseth. Jourdain in the top 10. Him and Busch not battling for position. Kyle Busch has zero pressure behind him. Should hang on to 17th. Closing in on Jourdain once again. 2 to go. Jourdain still blocking even though there's no incentive for him to do it. Busch kind of clipped the apron. You know, Jourdain wasn't there when Busch clipped the apron. I think Kyle Busch was going to spin again. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Kenseth. Jourdain still should hang on to his position he's in right now. Busch is going to finish a lap down in 17th place. Wasn't the fastest, but Matt Kenseth will be the one to win. As he captures the checkered flag in the Dollar General 300, Matt Kenseth is a race winner once again this season. And Kyle Busch has his worst finish of the year, and the first time he has not finished on the lead lap all season. I didn't even think about that until just now. I've finished on the lead lap every race until this one. Wow. 17th, worst finish. Could have been worse than what it was. A 1-2 finish for Roush Fenway Racing. Kenseth's first win of the year. He led the final 46 laps of the race. Mark Martin, who came close to leading earlier, finishes second. Elliott Sadler third. Shane Meal in fourth. Kenny Wallace rounds out the top 5. He led 1 lap, finishing 5th. Smith finishes in 6th. Luke Trigger 7th. Irvin 8th. Michael Jourdain Jr. 9th after starting last. Good run for him. Led 1 lap on that restart. And then Erickson rounds out the top 10. In 10th, our teammate Brian Vickers finishes with 2 laps led in 11th. Both those laps led were under caution. He spun earlier. 17th for Kyle Busch. He led 90 of the 200 laps in race 2 today. More laps than he led at Kansas. Faster car than he had at Kansas. Couldn't get the win in either race, and actually a worse finish than what he did at Kansas also. By about 16 positions. But 3 cautions for 9 caution laps. 21 lead changes, 3.5 seconds margin of victory for Kenseth over his teammate Martin. Hour and 56 minutes total time on today's race. Average speed of 154.78 miles per hour. I mean, the good news is Clint Boyer finished a few spots behind us, so we still beat him on points, and Brian Vickers only beat us by 6 positions. And we both had bonus points. In fact, I had 10 bonus points. He had 5. So it will be as if Vickers only beat us by a couple spots. So he's not going to gain too many points on us. And we're still going to have that massive points lead for the most part. Let's see. 48 laps led for Bobby Labonte. Again, he was fast early. But he fell back to 26. He was just slow. After that first set of stops, I don't know what happened to him. But he really fell off the face of the earth. Finley, Carl Edwards, Rogers. We saw G.G. Yaley blow an engine. Taylor blew an engine as well, as we had 5 drivers DNF in each of the 2 races in tonight's action. We'll check out the new point standings after our 19th race of the year is concluded now. Just 14 to go. And we are definitely on a very fast track to clinching this championship early. Our next Busch race will be on Tuesday night at Homestead for the running of the Ford 300. 3 consecutive Busch Series races on the season on 1.5 miles. Our next race tomorrow will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Daytona. That'll be a fun one. .463 points is the gap between first and second. Still 1-2 in the standings, of course, for Hendrick Motorsports, Glenn Boyer 522 back as he loses 15 points to Busch in this second race after gaining 10 in the first. So a net loss of 5 for Boyer through 2 races today on Kyle Busch despite winning the first race at Kansas. Kenny Wallace has moved up to 4th in the standings. Actually, I think he was 4th going into the race now that I think of it. Bobby Hamilton 8th in the standings still. But yeah, that's going to end up finishing tonight's stream. We'll keep the dominating Busch Series season going. Our average finish is not a 3.2 anymore, so that's unfortunate. Hopefully it's maybe in the 3s still. Probably not. It's probably like a 5 or a 6 now. We'll try to get it back down. We have a bunch of races still to go. Again, I mean, if we clinch a championship like 6 races early, we might only have like 8 races left of the Busch Series season, but we'll have to wait and see how this is going to go. Thanks for everybody watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Should be an interesting one at Daytona. 0 for 14 at Daytona in the Cup Series. Our 15th attempt to finally try to get a win at Daytona in the Cup Series on NASCAR, EA Sports video games. We'll see if I can do it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your Sunday night, and enjoy.